Before we dive into the actual functionality of it, I wanted to show you the way that I recommend just kind of setting up a template for how many clients use the litigation database and organize themselves as they prepare for trial. You can take some of these and say, ooh, I like that, or you could say, I don't like that. You can organize this however you choose to do so, but this is just how I like to set it up and how I've seen people have success. So these folder categories, we're going to run through them and kind of how you can use them to organize your folders. So I've created one called case documents. So if you had any complaints, motions, or briefs that you brought over because you want to make them searchable for attorneys or for yourself as you're preparing for this case, you'll be going back into these case documents. You can store them here. If you have any themes for this case, this is where you can create folders for different themes that you have. And I can show you, like, communication took place without advisor's knowledge. Any of those documents that are pertaining to that, you can tag to this folder and you'll have these different case themes. You can also, if you go in here, create your own custom grid views, like a theme grid, where you would be able to see very prominently summary and like issues. And again, this is something that just the same way it worked in the discovery database, you'd be able to create your own custom grid views for whatever it is that you're looking for. Go back to the default template. Go back to documents. Demonstratives. I always like doing a demonstratives folder. Over time, you're going to be using documents to build your demonstratives, being like maybe a timeline of events, what documents are going to be included in your opening presentation, what's going to be part of your closing arguments. Again, all customizable for however you want to organize your case, but I think that this is a useful one as well to have for those images that you're going to be using. Exhibits for deps and exhibits for trial. So now that you're taking exhibits for depositions, we always recommend as soon as you take your deposition that you import it into the transcript section, the deponents up here. The value in doing this is that it allows attorneys to look at a deposition that they've already taken and run searches on it to help prepare for any new depositions coming, whether in the near or distant future. Just kind of a best practice to have there, but you can keep all of your exhibits that are associated with the depositions you're taking foldered and organized here. And then the same thing for trial. You can create exhibit folders for the specific types of exhibits that you're going to be taking into trial. In this case, we're going to be working with claimant folder here today, but if you have a defendant exhibit or anything like that, you can kind of create that how you choose to do so. One of the things that I'll point out right now, and then I'll point out later as well, is that when you create folders, when you're going to be creating exhibit stamps for those documents, you're just going to want to name, you don't want to name them after the exhibit. You might want to organize them by the exhibit, but you don't want to name the folder after exhibit. And we'll talk about that a little bit later and why you wouldn't want to do that. And then this is a pretty obvious one, like productions. If you have rolling productions, either from your side or from opposing counsel, this is a place where you can store them, whether it's from defense or from the plaintiff. If there's third-party productions, you can keep them here. And then I like to take my witnesses and split them up into kind of like I did with exhibits for depositions and exhibits for trial. I like to have one for my expert witnesses and one for my fact witnesses, just so that you can have people coming in and out of this case and they're easily going to be able to find and identify what type of witnesses there are and where to find that information that are associated with like a particular expert's testimony or a particular fact witness's testimony. Very easy to find. So that is what I like to do when first setting up a litigation database, is just organize myself, organize the categories so that you are ready to go. You know where you should be putting information. If there's anything new coming in, you know where you should be organizing and storing it instead of it being just a hodgepodge. Really, the only time that we should have a hodgepodge of data should be in the discovery suite when we're like, okay, we don't exactly know what we have here. We're going to work our way through it. But once you get to the litigation suite, we should be hopefully past that point in time where we're now familiar, at least relatively, with the information and know what we have. So one of the questions that I get asked frequently when it comes to like opposing counsel productions is, when I get this production from them, should I import this into my litigation database or should I import it into the discovery suite? And it depends on your workflow. Most times I would say people will generally take that and import it into their discovery suite to then go ahead and review and cull down for their first time to see what they believe is important or not, and then exchange it over into the litigation database after you've coded it internally for your own responsive issues. You also could just import them into the litigation database and review them here. But I do think that the review process is you're better set up for reviewing documents consistently, quickly, easily in the discovery suite than you are in the litigation suite.